Murder in the first degree, premeditated homicide, is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. You've heard a long and complex case, and it is now your duty to sit down to try and separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead. The life of another is at stake. If there is a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare him not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, then he must be found guilty. Whichever way you decide, the verdict must be unanimous. I urge you to deliberate honestly and thoughtfully. You are faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you, everyone.
You want to know something? It's hot. You'd think they at least air condition the place. I almost dropped dead in court.
Okay, everyone's here. If there's anything you need, I'm gonna be right outside. Just knock.
I never knew they locked the door.
Sure they locked the door. What did you think?
I don't know. It just never occurred to me.
6 days? It should have taken only 2. Talk, talk, talk. Have you ever heard so much talk about nothing?
Well, I guess they're entitled.
That's the system. I guess you can't argue anything against it.
So, how'd you like the business about that knife? Have you ever heard a more phonier story?
Well, you gotta expect it. You gotta know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I suppose. And what's the matter? You got a cold?
Oh, Lulu, these hot weather colds can kill you.
All right, gentlemen, let's take our seats.
Right, and this had better be fast. I've got tickets to the 7-year itch tonight. I've got to be the only person in the entire world who hasn't seen it yet. All right, Your Honor, start the show.
How about sitting down? The gentleman at the window. How about sitting down?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's tough to figure, isn't it? A kid kills his father. Bing. Just like that. Well, it's the elements. They let kids run around. Maybe it serves them right.
All right. Now, you gentlemen can handle this any way you want. I mean, I'm not going to make any rules. If you want to discuss it first, then vote. That's one way. Or we can vote now and see where we are.
Okay, you know what? Let's just vote now. Maybe we can all go home a bit early.
Yeah, let's see who's where.
Right, let's vote now.
Okay. Anybody who doesn't want to vote? All right. Those voting guilty, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, that's 11 for guilty. Not guilty? 1. Right. 11 to 1. Now we know where we are.
Somebody's in left field. You think he's not guilty?
I don't know.
I never saw a guiltier man in my life. You sat right there in court and saw the same thing I did. The man's a dangerous killer. You could see it.
He's 19 years old.
That's old enough. He knife his own father 4 inches into the chest. They proved it and showed it a dozen different ways in court. Do you want me to list them?
No.
Well, do you believe a story?
I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So what'd you vote not guilty for?
There were 11 votes for guilty. I just can't send a boy off to die without thinking about it first.
Okay, and who said it was easy for me?
No one.
What, just because I voted fast? Look, I think the kid's guilty, and you couldn't change how I think even if you talk for 100 years.
I don't want to change your mind. I just want to talk for a while. Look, this boy's been kicked around all of his life. You know, living in the slum, his mother dead since he was 9. That's not a very good head start. He's an angry, tough kid. You want to know why those kids get that way? Because we knock them on the head once a day, every day. I just think we owe him a few words, that's all.
I don't mind telling you this, mister. We don't owe him a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? You know how much a trial costs? He's lucky he got it. Look, we're all grown-ups here. But you're not gonna tell us that we're supposed to sit here and believe him, knowing what he is. I lived among them my whole life. You can't trust a word they say. You know that.
I don't know that. What a terrible thing for a man to say. You knew dishonesty was so popular. You have no monopoly on the truth.
All right, it's not Sunday. We don't need a sermon.
What this man says is very dangerous.
I don't see any need for arguing like this. I think we ought to be able to behave like gentlemen.
Right?
If we're going to discuss this case, let's discuss the facts.
I think that's a good point. We have a job to do. Let's do it.
If you gentlemen do not mind, I'm going to close the window. It is getting pretty cold.
I may have an idea here. I might just be speaking out loud, but it seems to me like it's up to us to convince this gentleman that he's wrong and we're right. Maybe try it on for size.
That sounds fair enough. Supposing we go around the table? I guess you're first.
Oh, well, I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious. I mean, nobody proved otherwise.
Nobody has to prove otherwise. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. That's in the Constitution, the Fifth Amendment. You've heard of it.
Well, I know what it is. What I meant was, I just think he's guilty.
Let's get to the facts. Number one, let's take the old man who lived on the second floor of the apartment building, right underneath the room where the murder took place. At 10 minutes after 12, on the night of the killing, the man said that he heard loud noises coming right from the upstairs apartment. He also said that they sounded like a fight. Then he heard the kid say to his father, "I'm gonna kill you." A second later, the old man said he saw a body falling. Then he ran outside of his apartment and he saw the kid running out of the house. After that, he proceeded to call the police. And then they found the father with a knife deep inside of his chest.
And the coroner fixed the time of death around midnight.
Right, now what else do you want?
The boy's entire story is flimsy. He claimed he was at the movies. A little ridiculous, isn't it? He couldn't even remember what pictures he saw.
That's right. Did you hear that? You're absolutely right.
Look, what about the woman across the street? If her testimony doesn't prove it, then nothing does.
That's right. She saw the killing, didn't she?
Let's just go in order.
Just a minute. Here's a woman who's lying in bed and can't sleep. It's hot, you know? She looks out the window and across the street, she sees the kid stick the knife into his father's chest. She's known him for his whole life. Her window's opposite of his, across from the L tracks, and she swore she saw him do it.
Through the windows of a passing elevated train.
Okay. And they proved in court that you can look through the windows of a passing L train at night and see what's happening on the other side. They proved it.
I'd like to ask you a question. How come you believed her? She's one of them too, isn't she?
Well, you're a smart fellow, aren't you?
Okay, now take it easy.
Come on. What are you letting them get you all upset for? Relax.
Let's calm down now. Number 5, it's your turn.
I'll pass it.
That's your privilege. How about you?
I don't know. I started to be convinced, with the testimony from the people across the hall. Didn't they say something about an argument between the father and the boy around 7 o'clock that night? I mean, I could be wrong.
I think it was 8 o'clock, not 7.
That's right. They heard the father hit the boy and then he walked out the room. What does that prove?
It doesn't really prove anything. It's just another part of the picture. I didn't say it proved anything.
All right, how about you?
I don't know. Most of it's been said already. I mean, we could talk about this thing all day, but I personally think that we're wasting our time here. I mean, look at the kid's record. At 15 years old, he was in a reform school. He's stolen a car. He's been arrested for mugging. He's been in knife fights before. During the court case, they said that he also stabbed someone in the arm. I mean, this is a very fine boy we're talking about.